We're getting the facts on President Trump's joint session address to Congress. Today, we are looking at the Democratic response by Michigan Senator Elissa Slotkin. Last night, we had President Trump's speech fact-check, and today, PolitiFact Chief Correspondent Lou Jacobson joins us to talk about the response. Lou, great to see you again. We want to start by playing folks a claim the senator made last night about how the president is handling the economy.
President Trump is trying to deliver an unprecedented giveaway to his billionaire friends. He's on the hunt to find trillions of dollars to pass along to the wealthiest in America. And to do that, he's going to make you pay in every part of your life. Grocery and home prices are going up, not down, and he hasn't laid out a credible plan to deal with either of those.
All right, so let's break this down and start with the first part of that claim about giving money away to the ultra wealthy. Where does that line up with what the administration has said policy-wise they would like to do or have done so far?
Yeah, so it's a bit premature to say so officially because the tax bill is still being written, but it's generally in line with what Trump has long said he wants to do. During the 2024 campaign, the main difference between the two candidates was that Kamala Harris said she would extend the Trump tax cuts from 2017 for taxpayers who earn less than $400,000. Trump would do that, but he would also extend every tax cut that was part of that 2017 bill, including those focused on the wealthier taxpayers. We've generally found Democrats have sometimes exaggerated the scale of the tax benefits from the 2017 tax bill for the wealthy, but the independent estimates that we've seen do say that wealthy taxpayers should be collecting a larger share of the benefits if the full law is extended as Donald Trump wants.
So, Lou, there was also that other part of the claim from Senator Slotkin about grocery and home prices, claiming they're going up under President Trump. Should point out at this point he's been in office officially for 44 days. But what does the recent data show about current prices?
Yeah, so it's really too soon to know for sure. The Consumer Price Index, which is a widely used inflation metric, was 3% higher in January 2025 than it was in January 2024, 1 year earlier. But for most of that month, Joe Biden was actually in office. So it's hard to sort of peg that increase to Donald Trump's policy changes. But that could change. The data for February and March, which is not published yet, should shed some light on whether Trump policies such as tariffs will cause prices to go up. And the vast majority of economists do think that if the tariffs are imposed as Trump says that he wants to, that they probably will generally push prices upwards.
All right, so let's wait and see on the data itself. And looking at the president's time in office so far, are there financial indicators, so to speak, we can look at to determine, how the economy in these first couple of weeks is doing so far?
Yeah, so the signals so far are kind of mixed. Between Trump's January 20th inauguration and the speech yesterday on March 4th, the Standard & Poor's 500 index, which is a very broad gauge of the stock market, fell by 4.5%. And the index is now 2.5% lower than it was on November 6th, which is the day after Election Day when Donald Trump won. It has bounced back a little bit today, but still not enough to make up that gap. A different metric you can look at is surveys of consumer confidence, and they have turned fairly gloomy in the past couple of months, with folks saying that they're less confident about the future state of the economy and that they are more concerned about a downturn coming. At the same time, Trump's approval ratings on the economy and surveys have fallen as well, although they are still fairly better than where Biden was for the bulk of his term. And then one other metric we can look at is the weekly average 30-year mortgage. That did decrease in February, but only by a small amount. It's still 6.76%.
All right, so watching the hard numbers, watching the sentiment, and coming up on Friday, we'll get the payroll numbers as well. We'll look at all of it. Lou, thank you very much. And by the way, I want to mention again, Lou was with us last night for a fact check of the president's speech during News 9 at 11. You can watch that right now on our website to hear about President Trump's claims during the address on WMUR.com.